Hello, I'm James and it's my channel, Western Signalman. Now, since you were last here, I've had to build a station and a retaining wall. And also, I've been sent this, which allows me to put it on a layout. Why? Well, why don't you come and have a look and I'll tell you. So why do I have one of these? Well, if you have the latest issue of Railway Modeller, November 2025, you probably know why. Unless you're new to the channel, then you probably won't know why. But that is this current issue here, and more importantly, for me at least, is that Fford Dinrhyd made it into the magazine. And what was even more of a nice surprise was it made Plant of the Month. So Fford Dinrhyd has previously been published in the $09 Journal, but this is the first time it's made it to a mainstream magazine. And so I'm quite chuffed with it. The pictures have turned out quite well, and it's nice to read back on the article because I wrote it some time ago. So things and ideas have changed since writing that. Nonetheless, it's always very nice to see it in print. So if you do want to read up on it, then it's in the current issue of Railway Modeller. That's the November 2025 issue. Fford Dinrhyd may be coming out again for some videos. It has potential for being invited to a show. So if it is, I will definitely do some work on it. For one thing, it currently doesn't have a fiddle yard. And that river, if you've watched this channel, then you'll know about the river, has started to have cracks appear in the bottom of it. So it may need redoing. But we'll see about that. For the meantime, I've been working on Dinrhyd. Now, if you were here last time, you'd know that I painted some coaches. And obviously coaches need a station. And so therefore, I've decided to work on that. Now, for building the station, I also need to work on the retaining wall behind it because I'm going to build a footbridge which will go across from the retaining wall to the station platform. So they all sort of symbiotic to each other and need to be built at the same time. Now, I'm going to admit that I am absolutely 100% certain that I did film some footage in telling you how I made the retaining wall. However, when I've gone back through the footage, the first thing I can find is me showing you the bricks that I've knocked up. Or should I say slates, as it's going to be a slate wall. Now, I'll just talk you through the process, but it is simply a case of I bought some plaster. I added a bit of paint to the water mix to try and dye the plaster. I started with concrete sort of grey, that was too light, and eventually I just went with black, which seemed to work the best to get sort of a slate colour. And then I moved on to building the wall, which you'll see, and then a few more changes afterwards. But I won't spoil that. Save that for later. Following that then will be the build of the station, and that will then probably be it for this week, but I'll explain at the end why. Let's go see how I built that retaining wall. Right, here we are, a big pile of slate then. I've left it to dry for a couple of weeks, I think, actually, since I've knocked it up. So this was the third attempt, which I've used black paint to colour it, which has worked a lot better. Although you can see it's sort of got this lighter colour on the top and the darker on the bottom. Not quite sure why it's done that. I also think in future I need to make it a lot thinner. It's probably just a bit too chunky, but it'll do. I'll see how it does for the wall. The originals then of the first two batches, they're just all piled in here. They're a bit too white and clean. So what I did was I had some dirty paint water from cleaning brushes, sort of a browny colour. I just poured it in there in hope that it may dye the blocks. It kind of done the job. They're still a bit bright, but I'll probably go over the wall with the airbrush. So talking of the wall, here is a start on it. So I've made a card template for me to follow to get the right shape. But what I've done is I've used white card, and that was a bit stupid because where there's gaps, and obviously the phone's causing a shadow, so it's not that obvious, but you can see the white. There you go. Look, you can see the white of the card behind. So I'm going to try and get a filling knife behind here just to break away the wall where it's glued to the card. then paint the card black, and then continue building the wall. Okay, I can't remember if I did film the slate wall going in and going, there it is in or not, because these things always tend to get left. However, I did show a photo to a few friends, and they suggested that the wall probably needs a bit of a wash. So I knocked up some black acrylic with water. It was far too thick and it went on far too heavy. So then I tried to save it with some grey acrylic. I think it looks okay. It's a bit darker than the sort of the slate on the other buildings. But probably does blend it a bit better than the sort of multicoloured wall that it was before, which was a bit unrealistic, I think. So I'm going to try dry brushing to see if that will improve things. Then I want to do the top of the wall, but to do the top of the wall, I need to do the footbridge. So there'll be a footbridge coming off here to go across the tracks to get to the station, because if that siding's got wagons in it, there's not really a walking route for passengers to get to the platform. So that's the thinking behind that. So I'm going to do that then. I'm going to dry brush the drywall. And then I'm going to have to look at doing the platform, I suppose, and then doing the footbridge. So lots of little tasks. And also I've got to finish doing those shops as well. It's very much building heavy before I can move on to scenery, I think. Might have to do that background as well, because it's a bit dull with a plywood sky. But we'll see. Right, first things first, if I'm going to build a platform, I need to weather this track. So I'm going to start with some rail match dark rust for the rail sides. And then we'll work on the sleepers. Okay, right, I did do a long time lapse because you don't need to watch me painting the rails. But I've painted most of the rails. I haven't painted this bit because it needs to be extended at some point. I really do need to get around to doing that so I can actually run some trains on it properly. And the same over here. And then I haven't done the engine shed either because I want to concentrate on the engine shed. In fact, I've got plans for the engine shed, because these doors are just not wide enough for the Baldwins. So something will have to change there. Anyway, go paint the sleepers now. So I'm going to use a bit of flat earth and NATO brown and sort of just dry brush them onto the sleepers just to tone them down a bit. I suppose I could have got the airbrush out, but you know, why make life easy? Okay, well, we're making progress with this layout at last, really. When I think about it, I started it back in December, but then again, I did have Rail 200 in the way. So we have a platform. The platform is made from, if I can find a piece, it's this. It's just 5mm foam board. To create it, I took some brown parcel wrapping paper, cut a sheet, put it across the track work, and then basically ran a pencil to the edges of the sleepers. So it's roughly to size, stuck it down, took my longest coach I have, which is one of these Linton Barnstable coaches, and I've then got a pencil to the corner, and the usual method of just pushing it along and drawing a line and then cutting to the line to make sure that there's clearance for the coach to go round. I've had to tidy it up a little bit because on this piece the knife wandered, it got caught on the brown paper which is stuck to the bottom. You see, I glued it on and then cut around it, which meant that it's a little untidy here, but the idea is that I will obviously make some slate style wall to raise the platform, and then I need to do something at the top. Now what I'm concerned is this stuff is not the same stuff you usually get from Hobbycraft, which has like a paper covering. This is just like a styrene sort of style, a bit like what your pizzas used to come on before, you know, they became all environmentally friendly. And I don't think this is going to hold paint. I think it will cyst and bubble up and peel off. So I either need to put something over the top of it, maybe seal it with glue or put a card covering. I need to think what I'm going to do. But I'm in two minds about how I do the platform surface, because I could just paint it, or I could do a poly filler sand mix and sort of, if I do some edging slabs around the side of the platform and then put the polyfiller mix in the middle, and then sort of paint it grey like it's sort of a granite rough surface, and do something like that. But I'll have to think about that. Think about what I want to do. The other thing I need to do is I've got a platform shelter. It's one of the, I think it's a wheels kit. It's the same kit that I used on Fford Dinrhyd. to sort of keep a similarity between stations, a consistent design style. So that needs to be built, that needs to go there, and then I also need to do the footbridge, which then allow me to finish this wall. So it's all symbiotic in relationship to each other. That needs doing before I can do that. So yeah, it's time to crack on. Right, I needed a method to join the platforms, and so what I've done is a couple of cocktail sticks, and there'll be some alignment dowels basically. I can push it together, I'll just get a bit of glue, stick that together, and that's the platform glued. So I'm going to use some trusty copy decks here, and hopefully this will work. Maybe Yoo-hoo. Yeah, it's probably Yoo-hoo glue, it has a tendency to melt foam. But if I look, I may have some Yoo-hoo foam glue. I'll be back. Yeah, here we are. Not a lot, but hopefully enough to join this together. Fingers crossed. Right. There we go. Right, so that's dry then. Right, I've added some edging to the platform. So the stonework is this embossed sheet, which I'm not sure who made it. I'm pretty sure I bought it from Squires, probably at a model show. I can't tell you what the brand is. Apologies on that if you were after some yourself. Then the edging stones, I've made that with some 10 foul plastic card or styrene sheet. I can't even get it in focus. And then what I did was scored every 2 or OO scale 2 feet. So it's 2 feet by 6 inches for each slab. And then because they're in nice thin strips and it's thin plastic card, with the scoring, it allowed me to bend it to shape, which was good because I was concerned I may have to glue on each individual tile, and that would have been a nightmare. So yeah, you can see it's all glued on there. So next is I'm going to give it prime. I'm going to try and do the poly filler and builder sand mix for the platform surface. So I definitely need to prime this because I'm not certain how this will react by getting really, really wet. I imagine it will probably bow, so it probably needs sealing before I do anything like that. Right, here we are then. There's the platform surface. I've now added the polyfiller builder sand mix. And I've tried to smooth it on as much as I can, try and keep it level. It's a shame it's not a self-leveling compound, to be honest, but there we go. And then where I've gone over the edges, I've just tried to clean it up. It's not really that very easy. What I should have done was probably just put masking tape over there and then pull the tape off afterwards. But there we go, live and learn. I'm probably not going to have to go around and dig all the polyfiller out of the joins. But too late now. So, yep, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll sand it down, and then hopefully it should be ready for painting. And it doesn't curl up in the air, which is what I'm worried about. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, right, I've sanded the platform down. I've cleared all the, I'm hoping I've cleaned all the gaps between the tiles, but we'll see. A few bits have rubbed away a little too far, but I'm not too worried about that. I think a coat of primer and it should all just disappear, hopefully. So off I go to spray this. Okay, I thought I was going to have a celebratory moment that I had built the platform and it's down. And so I got 2 of my larger pieces of rolling stock, obviously the Linton and Barnstable coach. And then this just came from the Fford Dinrhyd Railway. I got it the other day. It's a limited edition by them, and you can get it from the Fest Rail shop if there's any left. But it's based on their permanent way ballast wagon. I don't think it's quite accurate because obviously this is a Linton and Barnstable wagon that I've just painted to look like it. Well, that's good enough for my line. So they're both sort of similar width, and I've found that one there, and then it's derailed because he's always derailed. They're lovely coaches, but they're an absolute pain. Brilliant. Right. I'll have to edit this out. Yeah, it's back on. As you can see, that is just touching into the platform, and that is just touching the edge of the platform, and it doesn't matter. There it is there. So it's roughly there. They're touching, which is very, very annoying. And it doesn't matter how I sort of try and reposition the platform to try and compensate for it. If I move it one side, it upsets the other. So that's annoying, to say the least, because I had just finished painting it all and thought it was done, and I had tested it and thought it was all working, but clearly not. So I think the best way to solve this problem is to cut it down the middle, rather than try and trim an edge and take all the stonework off that I've done. At least then I'd only be adapting the stonework here and here. So if I just take a small sliver out of the middle, glue it back together, do the top again, hopefully I can recover this platform. Hopefully. Right then, I've cut it down the middle and then removed a 4mm sliver just to make the platform a little more narrow and away from the edge of the rails so that the rolling stock can pass. I realised what mistake I made. When I drew this out, I had the pencil at the corner, but because of the way it goes, the corner's not always the closest point to the station platform. It's actually the centre. So what I probably should have done was drawn 2 lines, drawn the corner and then gone back with the centre and then taken the shortest line and joined them up to make sure there was enough clearance. So got a little bit of a bump down here still. Push that a little bit that way. Right, so that runs through there. No problem. And then this wagon here passes all the way around the back. Bit close there. Ooh, I might take another mill off. And passes through there. So that's my only concern, that bit there. Maybe I can just... Oh, there we go. It was just separating a little bit. In fact, I think there's just room for maybe a bit more. Yeah. No. It's very awkward, this shape. Every time I fiddle with it, it doesn't quite go right. I might just take 2 more mil off just to make sure that we ain't going to run into any problems. Right then, here we are. It's patched over with the old Builder's Sand poly filler mix. I'll just let that dry, sand it down, and then we'll go over the surface with paint again. More than likely, I'll probably have to paint all these slabs again, which is the most annoying part because those slabs were fiddly. But there we are, never mind. However, you know, the platform will now fit and stuff shouldn't bash into it. So, you know, that's on the plus side. But yeah, this stuff, I mean, it looks like gingerbread mix, to be honest. But don't eat it. It'll cause horrendous digestive problems. So, yeah, let that dry. I'll sand it down, paint it up. Right, here we are. Look at this. I've repaired the platform. And now, rolling stock will pass. Here we are. Not a problem there. And, well, if I didn't derail it, that's the problem with these wagons, they're so light, and then you derail them. And they take forever to get back on. And as you can see, goes around without a problem. So, there we are. I'm happy with that. That means I can continue with the build. I think I need to do the platform shelter and add the stairs. Okay, here we are. Look, I've done the waiting shelter and ticket office for the platform. It's the same kit I used on Fford Dinrhyd, trying to keep sort of the same building style along the line. Now I've put it on, and I've put it this way because I think it's more interesting to look at it this way, even though it's probably, for the elements, the wrong way, because it'd probably be more sheltered if it was the way around, because obviously the wind blowing the rain in there. Probably should be that way around, really. But the other thing I'm thinking is, well, it's a little bit inconvenient for whatever way round it is. If you're waiting in there and your train's coming in there, you've got to walk all the way out there, get round there. So I'm wondering if maybe I should cut this open. And of course, now that I've built it, I decide that maybe I should do that to make things more difficult rather than doing it before I built it. And then just sort of have this whole waiting shelter as an open area. Maybe just remove those benches and stick them here instead. And have a think about that, because it kind of looks alright like that, but it does seem a bit impractical. But also, I'm a bit concerned about the amount of time I put into making this, and now I want to chop it up. Especially as I think the back weathered quite well with the wood chip effect. It's come off quite well there, but I'm going to think about it. I still have one more job to do, and that is to build the staircase. So I've put these together. This is a ratio kit. It's very fiddly, I'm not going to lie. I've built staircase kits like this before. I think it's probably just like one that goes with a signal box, but you can just buy it as a separate kit for about £3. And then you have to glue the steps in. And gluing on one side is fine, because you obviously just glue them all in place and have them in position, and then you've got to glue the other side on, which is a lot more difficult. And you can probably see some of the steps are a bit wonky, but it was a struggle, to say the least. Also, cutting it off the spurs was a bit of a bugger. I managed to break the handrail here. I managed to chip a bit off here because the spur is so thick and this is so fragile and thin that it didn't matter if I used snips or a knife. One method or the other managed to damage it somehow, but there we are. I'll cover that up. So yeah, the steps are going roughly about here because I've got this bit of foam board over here, and measuring it up. I've got my hat in the way. Let's move the camera over. Measuring it up, the step comes level with roughly this stone here, so the bridge probably wants to come across here. Of course, I need to make sure that's enough height for rolling stock, and I've already got the feeling it's not, and I'll be right. That's going to be a problem. Okay, I think I bought 2 kits. Hopefully I bought 2 kits. I may have to merge them. Oh well, I did it. I thought, you know what, it makes more sense to open up the platform so you can actually reach both sides for the shelter, and it looks so much better, doesn't it? I like how it matches Tom's signal box. They're roughly the same size. I'm sure Tom has intentionally done that. So yeah, cut the back off, and then it didn't seem right that this roof was kind of just sat on this one wall that wasn't really attached by any means. So I've put some matchsticks in to look like this sort of the trusses and joists of the roof, just to make it look a bit more stable, I suppose. Probably still needs a bit more weathering. I'm in 2 minds about interior detailing. It's not really the most easiest box to look into. You can't really see in there, and you can't really see in there, but I would like to put a light in it, and obviously when you put a light in something, it's blatantly obvious that it's empty inside, so I'll have to think about that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm quite happy with how that station building's come out. Also, it turns out I did buy 2 steps, so I have 2 now. I tried a different method of putting it together. This is the newer one, and what I did was I put 1 step at the bottom, 1 step at the top, and then glued it all together, let it cure, and then just individually going underneath, just adding 1 step at a time, which seemed to be a better method. I think it was this one actually, because that one looked a bit wonky when I looked. Yeah, it was this one, but yeah, that seemed to be a better, easier method of gluing the stairs together. So they should now be going plenty of height on them to get over that coach. And yeah, I'll work out how I'm going to put that on. I can't do it one-handed, so we'll come back to that, but maybe in another episode. We'll see. There we are then. That's all for this week, this episode. I say week like I do a weekly video. These come out at random whenever I have the time. Yeah, as you can see, the platform is in a position that I'm happy with. It still needs a bit more work. I want to put some sort of slate granite top on it, because we're looking at photos of narrow gauge platforms. And I've seen a photo of George's platform on his nut guano layout. There's usually some sort of granite-y slate covering, and I'm not sure about the slabs on the edge of mine. Actually, I feel they might be a bit too small, but we'll think about that. I need to do the stairs, but obviously, you know, on their own they're too small. Together they're too tall, and it's going to take a little bit more work than just trying to stick them together and put a platform across the top and go, there we are, that's a footbridge. So I need a bit more work on that. I have also been working on the shops in the background. As I've previously done a video on this, I didn't feel it was necessary to do another video. Although I have been doing a bit of adapting to the buildings. in particular the pubs. So you would have seen I've built a few of the smaller shops. They are roughly 4 to 5 centimetres deep. And then I've done the Royal Oak pub. That was a bit deeper for a low relief building, and it sticks out a little further. Because it's on the corner of the layout, I felt I could get away with it there. I have now bought another pub from Petite Properties, and this one has the same issue. For a low relief building, it's slightly inconsistent to the size of the other buildings. In fact, with the porch or bay window, whatever you want to call it, at the front of the pub, it sticks out quite considerably further than any of the other buildings and actually narrows the road down to probably the width of an alleyway. So I have gone and cut this building down, removing some of the size of the sides, which has then decreased the size of the roof, which means I've had to adapt the roof because it had dormer windows, so I can't put them on, so it's going to have a plain roof on top of it. So there has been a bit of work to it. But as I say, I've kind of covered this before. I didn't feel it was necessary to do another video. However, if people do want to see me work on the shops and have a few more videos on that, I can do that. I know someone asked for a video on how to paint them. Again, I can do that. It's not really a massive technique. I essentially just prime the stonework, then put a mortar colour over it, and then just pick out the stones in greys. Tediously picking them out, should I say. And that's pretty much it. I've now moved to a dry brushing of white over the top just to add that final effect to the stonework, which works quite well. So I will go back and work on the previous buildings to match them up to the newer ones I've been working on. But as I say, if you do want to see a video like that, then just put in the comments down below and I can look at working on that. Otherwise, next time it will probably be a case of working on the footbridge. I don't think there's really, for the layout, scenic wise, the scenics are probably the last bit I'll do on here. It's mostly just buildings. So there's a lot of buildings because obviously I'm doing a town. The engine shed needs working on. It's just not suitable for the Baldwins. They don't fit. So that needs adapting. But otherwise, looking over it, there's not much else to do. Now, I have been thinking about building temporary fiddle yards to go at each end, so at least I can run some trains on this layout, because as it currently stands, it's a bit dull. There's nothing running on there. And I know a lot of people like to watch and see some trains running when they watch these YouTube videos, so I probably do need to work on that. But we'll see. For the time being, it's probably just a case of just carrying on working on buildings. So yeah, if you have liked this video, then please click the like button if you can, if you would like to. I'd love you to. Please click the subscribe button. If it's within the first 7 days, click the hype button. Also, the share button if you think you know someone who would enjoy this channel. Because at the moment, you may have seen Laurie's video, Laurie's Mechanical Marvels. YouTube is having a real tough time of getting their videos out there, and notice the algorithm has changed and we're not quite sure why or how it behaves. You may notice it in your feed. I for one have noticed on the menu on the TV version of YouTube at least that the subscription bar is no longer there. So all the channels you subscribe to with the new videos, that isn't there anymore. You may get the occasional video pop up in the recommended, but if yours is anything like mine, I'm getting the occasional recommended video that I would actually watch, and about 700 videos of stuff I would never watch and have no interest in and have no idea why YouTube is recommending it to me. Subscribing to channels now means you have to click the subscribe bar on the side, at least on the telly. So yeah, if you can, then do, as I say, please share this video to get it noticed. That's all for this episode then. Obviously I shall return to Dinrhyd with some more work in the future. Lord knows when that'll be. As I say, it's not a weekly progress for this, it's just a progress. But hopefully you've enjoyed watching, and I shall see you again soon. Thanks for watching.
More model railway videos for you to see.